Hello folks, Mitch Boyle, Triple Double Sports Cards. Welcome to the new year, and we have a lot of fun. I promised a look at what we got back from PSA, the 1970 TOPPS basketball, which, as you know, has a lot of second-year iconic rookies from 1969, including Alcindor. Before that, I think the previous series was 1961, so you can imagine how many second-year cards are in this batch, along with the Pete Marovich rookie card, which we will show you today. I'm not going to show you all 30 cards that we got back. I've got about 10 here that I think are worth mentioning. But what I did want to include also is some of the enhancements. A little plug here for our website. I think that we have really vamped this up. It works a lot more efficiently. And based on a lot of feedback we've got, we added some things that I think are pretty useful. The first thing is we have specials right at the very, very top. You can also click on here and it'll show it full page, so you'll have more than just these four. You can shop by category. We have featured items that's loading right now. And we also have an eBay auction that we are doing fairly frequently. We do those, probably 3 to 4 times a week. As a matter of fact, we have one closing tonight. This is the 12th of January, so by the time you see this video, this will be long gone. But we have 50 to 60 different auction items on at any given time, and also some buy it now items, which is pretty handy. So I wanted you to see the linkage that we've created there. And then I also want to show you what we're doing on basically a monthly basis, where we're highlighting a particular player. Most likely it might be an MVP race. It might be iconic efforts, meaning who's getting close to the assist lead. Chris Paul might be that in an all-time situation. LeBron relative to scoring, rebounding, assists as well. But for this particular month, we actually have Steph Curry 10% off on all cards. Now, you might say 10%, geez, that's not very much, but it's a lot when you're talking about a card. In this particular case, we look at the Will to Win and this mosaic, which is orange fluorescent. I think it's only number 2. Is it 99 or 49? In any event, this card is fairly competitively priced right now at $489. If you take 10% off, that's $50. It's $440. So these specials, again, will be going on for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. And right now it's Steph Curry. So I wanted to show you that. I thought it was pretty interesting. So that's it for what we're doing with the website. And again, thank you so much for watching these videos. Oh, by the way, we have a link to the videos as well on the website. Also, I forgot to mention an icon where you can click on any card, and I believe it says, let me know when the price drops on this card. Just click it on and we'll send it to you the minute the card goes into a discount or even a further discount, because sometimes we'll take specials and drop them even further. All right, so let's take a look at the cards that we have today. And the first one up is Pat Riley. Now, Pat was not known as a great player. I don't think he was ever even an all-star of any kind, but of course he went on to coaching lore, and I want to say he's won 5 championships, or maybe it's, yeah, I think it is 5 championships. I think it was 4 with the Lakers and then 1 with Miami. This ended up being graded as a X-Mint, a PSA 6, and you can see mostly it's a centering issue. The card was actually rather sharp, and this card at a PSA 6 will go for about $100. I really liked this card because I thought that it was a really neat example of what has become, in some aspects, from one point or another throughout the last, has it been 50 years? Wow, is that right? Yeah, 50 years since these came out, 51 to be exact, of a tri-panel. And in this particular case, you've got some of the all-time greats, Elvin Hayes, Jerry West, and the Alcindor. It came back as a PSA 7, and I believe that card is going for $125 to $150 in a 7. The next one up is Jerry West, and this one is pretty well centered. So it had to be a bit of a corner issue. It is a little bit off top to bottom, as you can tell. And a PSA 7 will get you anywhere between $125 and $175. Here's the back, a little bit off center, but it's a pretty nice card all in all. The next one is the now deceased Elgin Baylor, rest his soul, as they say. I think the issue with this card, although it did get an 8, the centering is fantastic. The main problem is if you look at the lower right-hand corner there, you're going to see a fair amount of torn or frayed edges relative to what happened when they cut the card up. And I don't think that's completely uncommon with this card. Boy, are these layouts boring or what? I think it's kind of amusing, but I guess from a graphic standpoint, there wasn't much going on. I guess we should say we're lucky that they were in color. Anyway, that's Elgin Baylor. So, as he was known then, Alcindor. And this card got a 6, and it's a big centering issue, as you can see. Left to right, it's way off, and top to bottom, it's way off. I guess I'm lucky it didn't come out OC. But this card, even in a 6, is worth anywhere from $350 to $500. So that's how important this card is to the hobby. Oscar Robertson, we all know about him. He's probably hopped up the popularity chart just because there's been so much talk about triple doubles over the last 3 or 4 years with Westbrook and what he's done, and obviously other ones. Card's fairly well centered, left to right off a little bit, top to bottom not perfect, but a PSA 8, and again, that card's going to get you anywhere from $125 to $150 in a PSA 8. Wilt Chamberlain. These are fun because you don't see a lot of these. I think he retired and played in the ABA up until about 1974. This card is pretty well centered. Top to bottom, not so good, but it's still really a cool card. And I don't know if there's a hobby card in basketball where someone's face is so incredibly prominent. And Wilt, I think, wore headbands for like the last 4 or 5 years of his career. It was kind of a statement for him. We're down to just 2 cards now. But I really love this card, and for those of you who collected back in my day, you're probably looking at that grade. And it's one thing to get a PSA 9. It's a whole other thing that this thing isn't ruined with various checks. I think by the time we got to the mid-'80s, people realized they shouldn't be checking these checklists because they were so much more valuable if they did not. So not only is this card unchecked, of course, but it's a PSA 9. And there are no checklist number 24 that are graded higher by PSA. None. And although this card has gone for $700, I wouldn't sell it less than $2,000. It's so incredibly rare. So I thought that was kind of fun. So the last card we have, of course, is the rookie of Pistol Pete Marovich. I should hide the grade, but I won't. Obviously, I already saw it. I'd like you guys to take a guess. This is a very good grade for this card. As you can imagine, given how narrow the borders are on these cards, centering is really, really difficult. And not only that, but it was something that card companies obviously didn't care about because they didn't think people would be looking at one card, whether it was centered or not, in the future, if it had any value. Certainly not back in 1970. But yes, a PSA 8, left to right, the centering is fantastic. Top to bottom, not so good. So I think the interesting thing about this PSA 8 and what it would fetch today versus a PSA 8 that was graded 20 years ago is fascinating. If you go and look at the price guide, the 8s that are in the, say, 53 million series or 50 million series, something that's graded much more recently, are fetching anywhere between $4,500 and $5,000. The 8s that were graded quite a while ago, I'm seeing fetching between $3,000 and $4,000, and that's simply because this card would be a 9 from 10 or 15 years ago, and the 8s from 10 or 15 years ago would be 7s, and the consumer has figured it out. A card that's this expensive, they're going to look very closely at the edges and surface and ask questions about it before they buy. So in a way, it's sad that it isn't a 9 because it probably would have been 10 or 15 years ago. But the good news is the customer is smart enough to figure it out. And I think we'll get a decent premium for this Pete Marovich card. So that was fun looking at 1970 graded PSA TOPPS basketball, including Pete Marovich. And it was nice that we got that 8. I think it's really, really exciting. So what's next? Well, you remember maybe about 5 months ago, I opened up some junk wax. It was actually a case of Hoops 2. And the reason I did it was to prove to you, the customer, that, hey, I'm not going to mess with it. We're going to open it up. And then I'm not even going to open up the boxes when I send them out. Well, the Hoops 2 is all sold out. And again, I didn't open one of those lids. I did not count the packs, which is maybe a mistake. But the good news is I've gotten nothing but compliments from the people who bought those. Well, now I'm going to open up a Hoops 1 in front of the screen. And I'm going to open up a skybox, which a lot of you don't even probably remember because that lasted, I want to say, was it 1, maybe 2 years? But of course, there's some pretty cool Gary Payton rookies and Sean Kemp. And I think, of course, the Jordans, everybody's chasing those down. And there's probably a couple others that I can't remember off the top of my head. So we're going to open up those and make sure that it's somewhat legitimized. So when I put them on sale, you'll know, hey, this guy has not messed with these at all. And who knows, like I said in the last video, maybe we'll just see some concrete boots in there. And it was because Guido was getting ready to take care of somebody. I don't know. And I'm going to get in trouble for that statement. So anyway, thank you, first of all, for subscribing. It's so important. Not quite as important, though, as your feedback on all this. If you've got questions or ideas or thoughts about what we said or what we saw, please let me know. And again, thanks so much for subscribing. On behalf of Triple Double Sports Cards, I'm Mitch Boyle at tripledoublesportscards.com.
Yeah. I saw you through the window just the other day, a model of the perfect girl on display. For reasons that I can't ever explain, again, I'm falling for somebody's volunteer. I'm falling for somebody's volunteer. It's no big deal, nah man, why should I care what gets in your pants? Why stare when it goes nowhere like a car accident, send thoughts and prayers. Doing something's too much stomach, fuck break up in to give me a woman.